Now I'm going to read a different, more contemporary column by another columnist for the Rocky Mountain News named Greg Lopez. I had the pleasure of working with both of these men, both of whom are dead today. Gene, after a long and fruitful life, and Greg was killed in a terrible traffic accident, in a car accident, by a drunken driver. We lost a great voice. And I think this column gives you an idea of the courage of an individual going into a dangerous situation just in his own community and trying to write for the people who live in an environment where no one is speaking for them. So I'm going to read this column where you're going to see again that the writer is obviously present, but the column is not about him. It's about what he sees and hears in a place that is very important in that community, and it's a symbolic place. So this column is called Gunfire and Fear Collide at Corner, and it was published for the first time in 1994, 20 years ago. But I think it's very valuable and valid today. And this is by Greg Lopez. At the payphone on the corner of 26th and Arapahoe Streets, Jeffrey Handy was telling his girlfriend in Montbello about true love, the 10th grade, and which bicep he should get her name tattooed on, when a car that looked like a black Jeep came up 26th. Handy dropped the phone and ran up Arapahoe, and the two women waiting to use the phone crouched on the sidewalk. It is the corner where two people have been shot, one stabbed, one beaten with a baseball bat, and one cut next to his eye by a piece of brick chipped off by a bullet. All since the weather turned warm. A black pickup drove past. Handy ran back down Arapahoe and picked up the telephone, which was still swinging on its cord. She hung up, he said. I said I'd be right back. It is the corner where gang members gave Clarita Wilson, 74, 2 minutes to call her daughter in Lakewood to tell her everything is all right. It is the corner where people heard at least 8 shots Friday night, and somebody yelled, I got hit, but police were not called. It is the corner where for the past week people have run or crouched on the sidewalk when they see a car that looks like a black Jeep. Some say it has something to do with gangs. Most say they don't know why. It is the corner where Ida Hernandez has lived for 9 months. She is 60. She has counted at least 41 bullet marks in the brick of her duplex, and it was her grandson, Larry Ornalis, 11, who was stabbed in the back but not seriously injured July 4th on the corner. In a glass in a cabinet, she keeps a slug she took out of a wall in her dining room and 4 .38 shell casings she found on the sidewalk Saturday morning. Shells on the sidewalk tell you something, she said. They mean the people are starting to shoot back instead of just getting shot at. That's probably a bad sign. It is the corner where Bernadette Trujillo, 23, was shot in the back May 11th while she talked on the payphone. She had just agreed to buy a 1976 Firebird for $300. Now she is paralyzed from the chest down. She was released earlier this month from Craig Rehabilitation Center and lives with her father in Northeast Denver. I went back to the neighborhood for a week, but after being away a while, I could see how it is, she said. People were used to things they shouldn't be used to. They think that's just how things are. It is the corner where Jerry Lozano, 21, started to run when he heard shots April 30th, and he got half a block before he was shot in the neck. He was going to see friends, and the bullet paralyzed him from the neck down. Now he is on a ventilator in Venker Hospital. I keep going over it and trying to figure out what I did wrong, he said. I have a lot of time to think about it, even though I don't know if I'll ever get to go back there. I should have gone down the alley. This is the corner. The stop sign at the corner has 4 bullet holes, 2 from either side. Those bullet holes in the stop sign, they tell you a lot about this corner too, Ida Hernandez said. It tells you they get you coming and going. That's a very grim column about a very grim place in Denver, Colorado. I think it's very important to see in that column how Greg obviously spent time standing at that dangerous payphone, talking to the people who were using the payphone, interviewing them. But he also went to the hospital and talked to people who were injured at the payphone. And then in the most simplest of terms, he described all of the activity around this very basic location in a city. And he used a very repetitive structure to drive home a powerful point, that it didn't happen just once, it didn't happen just twice, it didn't just happen 3 times. This is what happens at this place. This is the corner, he describes. And of course, he uses very clear detail. And some of the things are important. For example, he doesn't say of Bernadette Trujillo, who was shot on the, in the back on May 11th, that she had agreed to buy a car. He says she had agreed to buy a 1976 Firebird. For those of you who don't know what a Firebird is, it's kind of a power car, a sports car, an exciting car. It had certain, so it expresses a little spirit. And what I would say about that is that you always want to think about the specific detail and what's meaningful for other people, that paints just a little picture in, that just brushes in a little bit of detail that makes us feel like we know who Bernadette is. She's 23. She was dying to have a car. She was shot in the back. We know when it happened. There's a sense of continuity here. So I hope that these 2 columns give you an idea of how you might share your own experience and make it meaningful for others that you want to understand what's happening in your community. Because as we build bridges between people, journalism can play a very powerful role. But the way to do that, I think, is to be a very patient person, to listen and observe and find details, and then share your stories in simple terms. And when you do that, I think, as you can see from these 2 columns, you can have a very powerful effect and make other people understand worlds that they're not part of, and build empathy between people. And that is one of the great strengths of journalism, and why I hope you're learning to become better journalists today. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm very delighted to be able to share my stories with you, and I wish you all the best in the work that you do going forward.